students, yeah, they want to sound French, but they have nothing to do with France. Whoops. Okay, so I'm going to spare. Do you want me to just go? Or?
Go.
Okay. I'm going to spare you all the data integrity issues.
Okay.
Some of them we've discussed. You know, like going over to one semester. You know, best practice would say, what do we want to do with zeros versus nulls? You know, stuff like that. So I'll save all that and just show you Tableau.
Okay.
What happens when they're blanks? You know, stuff like that as well. So I'm just going to Tableau here. So it's on every computer, 8.2. We've got desktop keys. I did verify that the desktop keys that I got are for Tableau 10, and we still have to download 10. We have 8.2. That's my fault. Kevin sent in the help desk ticket, but the keys for 10 still work for 8. So that said, so this is Tableau. You just open it up. They've got their own data sets to practice with from different locations like Excel, Microsoft Access, a zip file as well. So connected data, and I know you were looking at that Domo program. So
I haven't actually seen the program yet, but yeah.
So these are all of, no, this is in version 8. So version 10, they've probably added some stuff, but you can use Tableau directly from a server without having to download any files first or open up an Excel file or text file or anything. You just have to do that, and once you do that, you're going to have permissions and stuff, right? So, like in my classes, in the graduate level, we're going to be using Microsoft SQL Server connected to Tableau instead of downloading files out of SQL Server. But for all intent and purpose, Microsoft Excel. I've already opened it, so it converted it to a Tableau icon, but it originally was an Excel icon. So just open it up. And so this is our data. And here, this is basically the loading section. You can load multiple workbooks and then tie things in. So if you want to load another data source that might not say gender in it, you could actually click on gender and then it's called joining. I'll save you a lot of that language, but basically you can have multiple data sets within the same thing. You just have to tell Tableau that the fields mean the same thing.
How does it, you know, how does it, you have to have a common field between the two files, right?
For it to automatically do that.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you have to manually go in and.
Do you have to tell it what the common field is, or does it identify it itself?
It tries to identify itself by the same name, but also a pattern of data. It tries to be clever. But you're also able to go in here somewhere and like do a drag. I think somewhere. I think there's a file like setup kind of thing where you can say this one and this one are the same thing. So then it just, you know, tucks it underneath and adds more rows of data for you.
So what all is in this data set?
Okay, great question. So for that, so Tableau likes to give you the ability to do that. I personally like to still look through Excel, the lens of Excel, but you get a full screen there. So, you know, this is probably some of the information we really care about. You know, race, gender, high school GPA, imagine that is.
Yep.
ACT, cumulative GPA, that would be college.
Yep.
I imagine, because we already have that.
Midterm.
Yep.
And Joe, this file is a list of folks who all had alerts.
So it's
Correct.
data with the individual's identity taken out.
Okay, so but it's grounded in alerts.
Correct.
Okay.
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 And so, so when you get to this screen, there's not much here. Again, it's kind of your loading screen where you want to load your data. This is what you want to hit. Go to worksheet. So this is the Tableau that people want to love and know. Is drag and drop. All the stuff you do here, you can do in Excel, but you got to build it over time. Here you can really get to it, load your file, and then if we want to look at, let's see, what did we look at before? Oh, majors. So we're gonna drop it here, and now we got all of the list of different majors. So this is summarized. So we have 373 rows of data, but there's not 373 rows here, because some students have the same, accounting BA as their major. So then we can go down here to measurements that Tableau recognized as typical statistical measurements and things like that. So if we wanted to look at ACTs of all these students, we drag it up here, right there. And of course, you got to be careful when you do Tableau, because it's going to sum it. Sometimes by default it thinks it's smarter than you and anticipates what you want. So summing ACT scores wouldn't make any sense. So we go down to measure and go to average. So now we have the average ACT score by major for people that are in this file.
And this file, again, is made up of only persons who had alerts.
Yes. Yep.
But, I mean, and Joe, this is just a question I don't have any idea about. Have we, and Michael, I don't know if anybody's done that. Have we looked at the entire student body? Do we have access to that? So if you wanted to do correlations to say, what are the common characteristics among folks who are on alert by all the characteristics we have?
They're separate systems.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that.
So
we can't talk to each other, okay?
Not at the moment, but much like Michael brought an Excel file into this program to look at this data, you could bring a second Excel file in out of one of those other systems.
Okay.
If we were able to gain access to
Okay.
it.
or text file, CSV, anything.
Bring in to do the joins to understand the relationships.
Okay.
If we were really good,
But we strip the
You don't have to
tying
wait. You don't
factors.
need
We strip the
identifiers?
tying factors, so they
You don't have
wouldn't
a
be
way
able to
to-
tie it
Right.
together.
Right.
if we were really good, we would be able to talk directly to the server.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
If we were
But-
really lucky.
Let's just not even talk about it, because it won't happen.
Can you do an average ACT score of everybody
Yes.
total?
In order to do that, I've got to remove the majors,
Okay.
I believe. Oh, oh, oh. 21.09.
And the national average is 22. What is it, Joe?
I don't know what it is right now.
For
I think it's pretty
people
close.
For 22 for what? Average for what?
ACT, of all the people on the list. So instead of by major,
It used to be 21, but I think it's 22 now. I think they kind of bumped it a little, didn't they?
I think you're right.
It fluctuates a little bit, but,
Uh-huh.
so
Nope.
it's
Yeah,
close
there we
to
go.
the mean of the national
going back.
mean of the ACTs.
There we go. I was like, why is there thousands here? I knew this number was still correct, but.
But it would be interesting to see the distribution.
How did you fix that?
Can you do the distribution?
Measures?
Okay.
Can you just
Yeah.
do a distribution of it there?
What do you want to see it by?
Just the distribution of the actual ACT scores of the sample. So
Oh,
a
the count.
histogram or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Um,
mean, I don't know.
Counts as a category.
It'd just be interesting to me to see that.
no, that's not it.
That's interesting.
Hmm.
Females is
No.
slightly even.
Oh, well, there's females, the males, no. There's a way. I know what you want, but.
Yeah, I just want to see the bell curve.
Bell curve.
So is there a graphics representation?
Yeah, there's a way to
Area.
do histograms. Wonder what happens here. That's not what we want. Oh, maybe we can do it here. No. There's a way.
Well, what about that one you just showed? No, that one.
There we go.
There you go, okay.
Nice.
So,
Do we really have-
okay, so you've got, see, what's interesting to me is, look, if you look at the very top and the very bottom, yeah, you're represented on either side, but there's a slug from 16 to 22. It's that range. It's from the mean down to 16. What is it about that crew? What is it about that crew? That by far makes up the large. You got your. I mean, I guess I would anticipate 12s and 14s would do some struggling, and you got some obvious high ability students who are not applying themselves.
Yeah.
But I mean, but the majority of this is really falling in that category where you would say, okay, how would you characterize, wouldn't it be nice to
Almost
know?
have a binomial distribution of almost.
Yeah, I mean, wouldn't it be nice to know, to say, okay, this is a group where college is gonna be harder for them.
That's interesting.
And that's
Right.
what you, yeah.
Where you have to, you have to apply yourself a lot, right? Because
That's very interesting.
But you can understand that. I mean, you've got
Right.
someone with a 16 ACT, they
16,
are.
18, 20, and 22,
Yeah.
you are in that range where you're gonna be, I hate to say it, you're gonna
I
be a
just-
slogger.
I just
Yeah.
learned something. I didn't realize we had such low ACTs.
Well, I don't think that, it used to be a lot worse.
I know.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
We used to have
And
tens
Joe
and-
could tell us,
Yeah.
we had more 11, I don't know, did we have more 11s back then?
Yeah.
I remember the 11s and 13s, a lot of them.
Yep.
That explains micro then.
But I guess,
Power of information.
Yeah.
to me, it may be that if they do have the lower ACT, they might say, I know I need support. I know I need to do
That's a
these
good
other
question, do they say
They
that though?
recognize that, right?
things." Maybe
Maybe
that.
they don't, maybe they're like me.
Maybe at 16 to 22, they're saying, I can do this, I don't wanna reach out for extra help. I
Yeah,
mean,
I used to do this in high school, I could do it.
Yeah.
I don't
Be
need,
guided.
I don't need that what's her face
Yep.
in the writing area, the what's her face,
JS,
what?
JS, Jeffrey
What,
Scott.
oh, what's her face?
Yeah.
I mean, really, I mean, what is it, what do
What
we
is it
know
about
about,
that group?
I mean, this is helpful because you look at that and you go, show this to the academic intervention committee and ask the question, what is it that we know about these people's perceptions of their ability and about help and about application, to work?
Yeah, it could help with some programming.
How much time did I put into this in high school? How much time am I putting into it now?
And not so much programming, because the programs, the structure is in place.
But I mean, the programming is in bringing awareness. Maybe there's a greater effort
Yeah, maybe they're.
into the
they're-
program than that.
Right, yeah, for sure. Marketing or some sort of thing. That was my business thing, I threw in there.
Yeah.
But then that's why, that's what I love to do, data mining, because then I start saying, I could never take the standardized test, so I'm really in there, but I have the potential, and if you look at my high school, you start seeing that I'm not gonna be in there, I just don't know how to take tests.
Yeah, but you wouldn't be you wouldn't have an early alert on you though.
I would, because,
Could we look at total
because
alerts of
I
extracurriculars?
wasn't
Yep.
prepared.
So let's create a new
They
sheet.
didn't prepare me for college prep,
so we can
because
use
I'm
that.
always testing over here.
Total
So I was
alerts.
tracked to be a secretary, so so that's the thing is when you just
Yeah,
use ACT, that's why I like more of the data mining,
Oh.
to say, what else would tell
What
us?
else?
That's why when entering student profile, did they already perceive themselves as knowing that they were gonna have these difficulties?
Well, can you place ACT and GPA side by side?
Yep, that's why
What?
I moved
Yeah.
to do data.
He asked me for something, what'd you say?
Well, I was just saying, we were just talking about, what are those factors, you know, where people are saying anymore, institutions are moving away from standardized tests, but if you were to look at, you know, the standardized test in relationship to GPA on this, what does that look like? I mean, does it, you still get
Is that helpful?
Yeah,
a similar profile?
I mean,
that's interesting.
I mean, if we get rid of
What are the
tutoring.
alerts?
Oop.
What?
Are those alerts on tutoring processes?
No.
Oh, these are their extracurriculars of the people that
Oh,
have
so
had early alerts, yeah.
So, if I'm interpreting that correctly, you're telling me a number of the early alert folks are tutors?
No,
They're
that
in.
had tutoring.
They had
Yeah.
tutoring, okay.
Cause right now
Wow.
it's classified as extracurricular. I think it'd probably be more appropriate for support or,
Support or co-curricular, probably.
Extracurricular or the.
But we don't have a
games
categorizing
and
system for
whistles
that,
and
so.
anything else.
but you tell me that next time and I can clean up the spreadsheet to create our own categories.
That
Right.
would be good.
So, like, for example, all this noise, what we call it a noise, about basketball, you know, like there's 7 different categories of basketball. For all intent and purpose, it's basketball. I mean, yeah, there's a difference between, you know, competitive versus intramural, but to get to the heart of the matter, we might need to consolidate some of these that are given to us.
And we're looking, and as Joe asked that, cause Joe and I talk about it a lot of
Soccer.
time, I look at resources, that's where the majority of the money is for student support, but is that where it should be? Which is where we came, is it another resource we should be investing in, like,
See, that table tells me more.
you know, like a
This one?
Cardinal
Yeah.
success course
What
up
you had
front,
before.
rather than wait
Ah.
till they need
Oh,
to.
Yeah, that.
So what else? Nice.
Well,
Yeah.
are you saying, Joe, that the intramurals, or not intramurals, that athletics, the amount of time taken is a predictor?
I'm wondering.
Like, we could consolidate
And,
these to
and I'm
say,
not coming up to that conclusion.
Well, it's interesting, you have LaSallian honors and
Yes.
FGI is,
Yep.
yeah,
that's shocking.
No, not if you work there.
Not if what, John?
Not if you work in early alert.
But you have to assume that the LaSallian honors makes up the top half of the ACT side.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for
you're
sure.
right. But
I mean-
even 50% of merit scholars drop out of school.
But then, I mean, it does
I
make you
never
ask the
showed up, ask
question,
McCall.
what happens to each of these populations? What happens, Joe, do they stick out, with, LaSallian honors? From what I hear Chris say, they do.
They do,
They do.
their retention is very high.
That they must survive,
Mm-hmm.
but if they're surviving,
Well, we don't know if they get off. How do we know the ones who were on early alert? Do we have like midterm grades and then show
Yeah, we got midterms.
if they were ones who had early alert and then where they were at midterm grades?
Yeah, can we look at 3 things?
Mm-hmm. So what do we want? We want midterm?
Yeah, midterm GPA.
Versus total alerts, or?
Versus, well, I wanna look at 3 things. Versus extracurriculars, versus. I want a 3rd item for shits and giggles.
Okay.
What was the other thing we were looking at?
LaSallian, weren't we?
So we've got extracurriculars,
Okay,
we've got GPA.
and alerts, we need.
Let's
numbers
look
of
at
alerts.
gender. Oh yeah, total alerts. Total alerts.
We need total alerts. Alert turn, yeah, total alerts.
Okay, let's see how to do this here. Oh.
I think it's just the table we're trying to do.
Yeah,
We have to change the. I think we need to pick a different, view.
yeah. One of these is usually good.
How come the lined ones are,
These?
yeah,
Because there's no date variables.
oh, got it.
Histogram, there's too many variables. That should work, but. Of course.
Can we just do Lasallian honors and take it out of there instead of just all the extracurricular, just for an example?
That's not useful. Because the number of alerts broken out by extracurricular is so small, there isn't that good volume. Well, let's get rid of the null.
Yeah, it's, you got a large null, it must mean there's some, we're missing a significant amount of data.
Did?
Data. So we have honors.
I bet the way that we could do this to make it look better is to have multiple sheets instead of putting it all in one.
I have a question, we have it by honors, do we have it by every discipline?
We have it by major.
Oh yeah, we didn't have it by course.
Nope.
So. I was just
We
curious.
could break it out, can you then, in this program,
That's a question we keep asking.
take that list of majors and
Yeah.
break it up
You're
into
right.
departments?
Yeah.
Yeah, we'd have to do that in our original
That's, I
sheet.
think, you know, they.
Oh, you'd have to do that in the original sheet.
Math
Yeah.
100, you know.
Or
that's
I
kind
think-
of place.
You can't do that in
Is there a
Tableau.
correlation that they're gonna stay?
I think-
The same with the gateway, that's the difference.
I should be able to create a new column.
Yeah, there's so much.
I just know it's a lot faster in Excel.
Got it.
I mean, just look.
So you're
at
talking
us
majors?
Wanting all these.
Yeah.
Factors, kind of
You just say,
trying to figure it out.
you know, business department.
So
We didn't ever
data,
get to GPA and
remove
ACT to
duplicates.
see what that correlation was.
So there's 122 variables left.
Mhm.
Cause they keep saying ACT scores are going up, but.
So stuff like that. This is what we'd have to do.
Right.
The same.
Boom.
It's more
And
like
actually, we
what
could
you
do
say
this
is
even
the gateway courses,
better.
what is the one that is-
Yeah, where are they
What?
sticking
Yeah. what's
places
the-
that.
Yep.
Stuff like that.
Yeah.
As well, to cut down on the noise. So yeah, it can be done. It'd probably take me 5 minutes doing it in front of you.
So
Yeah.
that's back in Excel, okay.
Yeah. It's probably the
So you
quickest way.
explain, okay.
And it kinda comes back to what's the data that needs to answer the questions that we have.
But I think this would be a lot, I mean, like we talked before, is there much difference? I mean, yes, maybe we create a new field, number of majors, instead of having all of these listed here.
Yeah.
You know, we have another field, number of majors, you know, accounting, so accounting is listed, but there's 2 majors. Accounting is listed, but there's only 1 major, 3 majors. 'Cause that
So
can
what
help
was the
us-
code, what was the code you put in there to separate it out? What was under that G, column G?
Oh.
First left word. broken
Yeah,
up
so
by
all I did here is I just chopped it a little bit, so it'd be
So
easier to
F2.
read. So I just picked 9 digits, I mean, or characters, we could have put 5, whoops, or 95.
Okay, got it.
we don't wanna go too far because I can imagine, oh yeah, accounting, so if we were to do the 2, now we have actuarial science in here somewhere, right here.
Right.
So you gotta be careful with the number of digits you do.
That's math.
But then, so here's what I was after. It's really crazy stuff, but so I was after this. Special values. Remove duplicates. Oops. So now we got 47 to work with. So we know this is business. Oops. So instead of doing 100 some, now we just keep going down. Because when I did it over here, these were uniques. So, because the idea is I would VLOOKUP this back into the main sheet as a new column, clean majors or something like that, or truncated majors.
Sure.
Instead of going through 400 rows and replacing, this would be a lot faster. So, it's doable. I mean, you're still going to sit here and watch me do this, but it might be very entertaining.
Yeah.
So the point is, I can have this ready for another meeting.
I think maybe before the other meeting, Jason just said it, we were kind of pulled out in the academic intervention committee. What are the questions? What are we trying to find out? And for academic alert, when I started, for me, it's a resource. Are we investing all these resources and at the end we lose them anyway?
Yeah.
Or is there a magical number that says 3 or more early alerts, we already know we're going to lose them? I mean, those are just questions that I have. But then we went back and we had another conversation here. They were doomed anyway from the very beginning, because when we looked at their ACT scores and their high school ranks, they already have some barriers against them, and no matter what we try to do with early alert, was it going to make a difference? And then the other thing he said is with the courses, the gateway courses, are we setting them up even more? But I don't know. And I think we'll get everybody overwhelmed, so maybe we just start with something simplistic to start giving them to say, for now, here's what we know.
Right, yeah, I think if we use what we have.
Yep.
I don't think we have enough data to answer those questions yet.
But
I don't think people will give us data until we show them that we're competent.
yeah. I mean,
Well,
I
we
think
do
that's
have.
all, I mean, I think just helping them look at this stuff may whet the appetite, but I know that the places that are expanding the numbers of first generation students and are working at trying to figure out how all these variables operate there. They're really looking at as many of these as they can and looking at them in a very close snapshot sequence around. Some are starting, getting a profile, building a profile and saying, with this profile, what are we seeing? And so while we say that, some students, they're just going to get earlier alerts and out, but what they discovered was, we know with this kind of a profile, with this ACT, with this certain other kinds of records, that we have to intervene with this kind of a course or this kind of a thing just as soon as they enroll. I mean, you know what I'm saying? They're beginning to look at, parse out the factors and when, and they're capturing data as many places as they can. I mean, and that some of that included, some of that swipe data from stuff and all kinds of stuff, but it allowed them to increase the retention. you know, we were in our last PLC group looking at the role of work study and work and students and what role that can play, and that's another piece of data to say when this person takes on a position, how they're doing time management and what does it do to incentive and how do we know that, and that's another piece of data that some places collect. But
yeah, and I know we have been talking about that from student success too, is work study, and saying I started workforce literacy exactly because of that, because people would not hire work study students thinking they're less than, and I said even our own college does that. We have 2 groups here that can hire outside of the work study, and nobody else can. They have to do, you know, here, because they can do the menial labor. So again, having to rethink where those meaningful, intentional work study positions also. And I know, Peggy, we talk about that a lot with the mentoring and everything that we do, that we move them off that, and Joe's doing kind of the same thing with his peer learning assistants. So we're making meaningful and intentional more so than it's not just about having a job, it's a meaningful and intentional. But again, what do we know? And you're going to have the highest people on Pell Grant and, you know, percentages getting the work study. So comparing those students versus the students that, you know, have higher and can get hired outside of that, what does that look like? So yeah, there's just so many things that are entailed, and we can overwhelm ourselves. But I think Roger's right, because we continue throwing money at things, and have we really discovered is this is a resource? Because now we want to start the Cardinal Success, which is kind of like a PASS program, but why do we think that's going to be the win-all?
Right.
You know, the catch-all now.
Right.
Because we don't have any data. We're just
Right.
saying, we know we have this group of
Right.
students that this would benefit from. Well, we don't know that.
So is there a plan to collect the data on this new venture that we're doing?
Why
If
don't
somebody
we
sat
start
down
it?
and said, here's the 20 fields we want to collect on everybody that is, every student
I don't
engaged in it?
understand what's the rationale for creating the Cardinal Success?
I think it's a model that they found has been beneficial in maybe high schools or something, some other entity that seems to have proven to be effective. So if we adopt it, chances are maybe we'll have some luck. I think it's.
So the K-12 model?
I can't remember if I think that's.
It's the Avid program.
Oh, the
that's
Avid program.
Yeah, it's that pre-college program that says, maybe if we know this group of students, and we're already saying ACT 16, we're already getting more early alerts or whatever from this range. So are you really looking at data? And maybe it is somebody like me that did not do standardized tests that's going to be put in there, but should be in this other, you know, track. We just, because we're not sitting down and figuring out how you're going to come up with those. I think the way they're thinking of it is, you get this ACT, you have this class rank, and immediately you're going to be in this track. And we have nothing to prove that that's going to be what that track means or what we've done.
Because a lot of schools that used to have it don't have it anymore.
No, a lot of them are.
Yeah.
See, a lot of them are, because you can't afford to do those programs, a lot of them, if you're in major cities, say, go to a 2-year and get that kind of background and then come in and be ready for us. Because I was at those 4-year institutions that would say that. So it's now, but we're private, so what do we do that's a value added, and how are we making those decisions?
It's an interesting thing.
Yep. So, you know, some of us are going to universal design, and you said, I mean, this isn't my meeting, but I think I don't know, how do we proceed? Because I think we need to have something that either lets people's appetite, but more than that, really shows them something meaningful and intentional, and I don't know what that is.
So Joe, I want to ask you a question. When you do an early report, for early alerts, do you kind of have a report that you do that summarizes what we know, what we've learned out of this semester or year of early alerts, that you report back to Esther or whoever else up the ladder to say, this is the impact, or this is the demographic information, anything of that nature?
Yeah, what would you say you do?
Did you hurt your finger in the chair? I saw you put your.
Well, one of the things that when I do my report, you know when reports are due, we don't know the number of students that aren't returning yet. In fact, we won't know that until the 10th day of the following semester.
Right.
And so that information isn't there. So typically anything that I say with regards to early alert has to do with process and our actions within early alert and things we can improve upon, such as the weekly emails and stuff like that.
Right, which I like.
Yeah, they are awesome.
Thank you.
So that was, and I used the data, the number of alerts that we had versus, the previous semester without the, and implied that the emails were, had something to do with the increase in people being identified.
Sure. And so what I'm wondering is there additional data that you don't have that would help build a better picture
Oh
to
my
share
God,
with people?
yes, yeah.
And can we advocate through the academic intervention committee to get access to data for you to help pull the picture into focus more?
Well, and I have a proposal in to do better or get more information into those reports, and I'm waiting to hear if they'll fund such a venture.
So you're saying modify the existing report?
Yes.
Or are you saying that there's other data that's collected that you just need to merge together?
Yes.
Okay. Either or would be good?
Yes. No,
Okay.
both actually.
Okay.
I'm trying to do a little bit of both.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would think we don't always know what other data is collected in other ways, people, places, whatever. So you don't ever really know who has what you need.
Right. Our biggest issue is we are continuing to build or gather information from different sources on what almost feels like a weekly basis. So if you look at, we have information in CAMS, we have information in Target X, and not all Target X information comes over to CAMS, only those that we deem identifiable, and so there's still a ton of information that doesn't come over.
And who makes that decision?
Yeah.
Who reviews that data, those data points, is what I wonder.
Yeah, that's a good question. We have the alumni information, which is an entirely different program, and we start to look at, okay, early alert is a separate program. Handshake, which we just purchased, is going to be a separate program.
Yeah.
The student app is a separate program, and that's collecting attendance and all kinds of stuff like that. That's all separate. When we use SurveyMonkey, our new student profile is done in that's separate. All tutoring is documented through Google Forms, so that's separate. And and
We have
it's
lots of
just
data.
This reminds
we
me
have lots
so
of data,
much of where it came
all from different sources,
Yeah.
and some of it with not connecting information. So like the new student profile currently is operating without any identifying information. They'll enter their names, and after my assistant that I hired through Michael went through it, they weren't even entering their own name correctly. So, this is how good the data is.
Dirty data, yeah.
Yeah.
Is there one person, one department that has all the data?
CMO.
What's that?
Is there one department that has all the data?
No, there
So-
currently is not one
so-
department that has all the data. In fact, I'm actually closer than.
So you have data.
than institutional research as
Okay.
far as having data because of the pockets that I have that they don't, such as early alert. tutoring, new student profile, things like that.
So you have data that Tiana cannot get,
Correct.
and vice versa. I mean, obviously vice versa.
Yeah. Yeah.
There-
Well,
there-
and look at how bad our data is. I mean,
Right.
undecided shouldn't be there. If undecided, they can't double major in ed studies and undecided.
Right.
So that is bad data. There's something that's terribly wrong with that.
Like, I'm wondering
Oh.
if they declared a double major once and then they removed it, and instead of just having a blank entry there, it's now listed as undecided because it had existed at one point.
No, and that could be true for Empower. See, some of this data has been pulled over from Empower, and that's where the undecideds could come from.
Okay.
And some of it is new. And now, how CAMS operates, that can't happen because you don't remove anything. You just make it active and inactive and stuff. So the fact that they declared this at one point, then changed their major over here, that's all kept. But I don't know about Empower and how it pulled. And it makes my head
Have
hurt.
we talked to the internal review board about this data? I know that was one of the
What's
plans.
in?
Molly was our point person for that.
Okay.
Just passing
And
the
she
point there.
ran like the
She
wind.
ran, but
This
she's only
would
Western
that
Company.
This would be a
This would
great,
buy that much.
great project for my students right now. Cleaning up the majors and consolidating, great practice.
Yeah, if it was
But,
okay.
yeah.
You know, it's a win-win in a lot of ways. Because we have an
When
institutional
we-
need and the students.
When we pull over the advisors into CAMS, it took all the historical advisors, so the active advisors were people that weren't even.
Not real
Wow.
people anymore.
Yeah, they were no longer
Yeah.
living.
Oh.
Active was so fucking no way to describe it.
Oh, geez.
And,
Rolling over in their grave.
and so, I mean, the data cleanup that we have, the only good data we have is our current piece. We have to go back and clean everything
Okay,
past.
sure.
It's just a mess.
All right, we gotta run to another meeting.
Okay.
Thank you very
Well,
much.
yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have class in here, so.
Okay, I'm gonna, show me that code one more time. Now you got that thing to go small again. No, back in the spreadsheet. Go back to the spreadsheet.
Oh, okay.
And just click on,
Oh, so it's a
That.
left function.
okay, I've never seen, okay,
Okay.
left
So,
equal left.
so whatever you want to
F2.
break apart, yep, your reference.
And so.
How many characters?
Number of characters.
Yep.
And, yeah, original item is F2.
Yep. So for example, it works really well when you have a situation like this. Oops. Or like customer,
Uh-huh.
and you know that you don't care about the first part, you care about the last part.
Right,
The sister to the left function is the right function,
yeah, right.
5, and now I just have the digits of the customer instead of all this junk. Carolyn is well versed.
Yes,
In fact-
she is.
in fact, she's gonna
just
do-
fabulous. I really.
She's gonna do this one now, the mid function, which is the middle. So you looked at the left and then the right and now the middle. She's learning the middle today.
Cool.
So
She's really
Good.
good and oh man.